challenged with, we need them to know.
Right.
They need to learn. They need to be taught. They need to be exposed. We have to talk about these things so that those people can become informed and hopefully want to shift out of the spaces in which they've inherited.
Yep.
So you have to honor. There's a balance of honoring them, but also exposing them. It's got to be a both and.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Richard Rohr, I heard him recently say, it was like on an old recording, but I heard it recently, and he said, you can't see what you were never taught to look for.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just weren't taught to see it, of course you're not going to. The problem then becomes when you resist seeing, which is different, right? Is when
But we have never. So this is a huge piece of why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But I don't believe many of us have grown up, especially in this context, with the idea that we could push into our imagination, that we could begin to imagine different roles, different ways, different structures. It was, no, this is the role that you're supposed to have as a woman. This is the role that men have to have. This is your role of marriage. This is the role of when sex makes sense in your life. This is the role of what the church is. This is what the church looks like. This is the structure. Like, we were given inherited things and told we couldn't manipulate or be creative within them. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I think not only is this innate divinity inside of us continuing to try to be expansive and creative and bettering the world, I think we've limited that for far too long. And so encouraging a bit of curiosity in people for any of this is okay. And I think we have to start there. And that's why I'm...
And that's part of the way you're doing that now is through Imaginarium?
Yeah, that was a huge piece of what I wanted with Imaginarium. Speaking of Richard Rohr, he said in his book, Eager to Love, which I've read a handful of times. It's so wonderful. It's on the life of St. Francis of Assisi. And anyways, he said, we have this inner Imaginarium, this idea where we begin to think more creative, and he says broader thoughts. And it's when we take those ideas and thoughts and then put them into action that we begin to change our world. And I was like, that's the kind of a community I want to build right there. I want to build a community where we are strengthening and deepening the human experience and strengthening the bonds that we have between each other and the world around us. And a community where we begin, literally the tagline is to imagine a better world and then intentionally make it so. It is better thoughts matched within action and change.
And I think that's one of the struggles for me on the journey early on deconstructing. I was really angry, and so all I wanted to do at one point was criticize and critique the previous world. But this thing you're talking about, no, it's actually about being transformed and then being I almost said transformer, but those are Autobots and Decepticons.
I can be moved by that. I can take it in me.
So it's becoming Transformers. To actually do something. I mean, I had this thought, and when I was thinking about this interview and thinking about Imaginarium, I thought, the reality is, for all the talk about God that people, the only way God, whatever that word means, has ever been experienced is through the human. Right. It's through human connection, human experience.
Yeah.
And you're taking that seriously.
Yeah. I also think it's worth noting, and I don't know if this is helpful or not, so many of us, I think, get stuck in we start deconstructing, and then we want to reconstruct, and we get stuck there. I've pastored so many people and had countless conversations where people are stuck, they're still grieving, and it's because they want that... they want to know how they're supposed to reconstruct their house. Like, they've burned down this other house, but they're like, okay, so what is the house I'm supposed to build? Like, you have a framework, right? And that's sort of the beauty of it. You're not given a new framework. You're able to be creative with the materials in which you have now to start building your own house, if we're going to use that analogy, in whatever way you see fit, in whatever way that's actually life-giving for you. And that's off-putting for people because they want to... Like, even when I'm talking about Imaginarium with people, they want something for me to be able to say, it's like this. And right now I don't have anything.
There's nothing to point to.
Anna and I, Anna's the co-founder, Anna skates with me, we're struggling to try to give people like, well, this is what it's like, because that's what we've been taught. Like, we're just supposed to be told what something is and then mimic it. And I think that's not the beauty of the human experience. It's all of us are on our own journey, linking arms with each other, and that creativity and Imaginarium should be able to go wild. So,
do your kids play with Legos? Have they ever played with Legos? They
have.
So I guess we're still in a Lego phase, but you buy the sets and it gives you the instructions how to. It's almost like saying, here's the thing though, this thing doesn't have to be that. Mm-hmm. You can take it all apart, and you can make something completely different. Right. You just throw away the instructions.
But that takes intentionality, and it's harder. It's much harder to get creative on your own, and you really have to understand the pieces and how they work together versus the other one, the blueprint model, is like, no, here you go. It's going to take some effort because you're following my instructions. But over here, just to be given the pieces and say, have fun with this, that's much harder. Much harder.
Because what if I get it wrong?
Right.
Right? That's the sort of, I don't know. Right. What if I don't put it in the right spot? Well, there isn't really a right. You just...
Right.
You put it.
Right.
And if you don't like it, you move it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the work you guys are doing is so... And again, there's nothing you can point to.
Right.
You're breaking new ground.
I will say we're taking the beauty of... because there was much beauty in our church experience. So we take a lot of those things and are pulling them over here. We've realized that people long to gather together. They want to see each other on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. And so we have gatherings twice a month right now. Also, I pastored at Grace Point for 8 years. And so often you're putting together incredible, hopefully excellent services for these people that they may become 25% of the time. And they're busy. No shame on them. And so I thought with Imaginarium, let's do it twice a month. Let's put great intentionality, but have it just twice a month where the people are going to make, hopefully, it a priority to show up and be involved in something. But it's not going to take up every weekend that you have. So we'll see how that goes. We're still in the midst of figuring out if that's the right model or not. But nonetheless, gathering together, people want that. They still want to be taught. They want to be inspired. And I always embodied my role as pastor, and I'm not using that title within Imaginarium because so many people are triggered by any of these institutional Christian language words. But I always embodied my role as pastor as coming alongside whatever this community is and I'm a part of, and nurturing and being a catalyst for their own growth and spirituality, and to be able to challenge and inspire, but from beside them. And so I still do that within Imaginarium. So I always loved that I would be tasked to take time as you're getting ready for a message every Sunday. I don't view our role in preaching, or never did in preaching, as teaching these people something that they aren't gifted or able to learn on their own. They are, but they don't have time. They're in full-time jobs, and most of them do not, with their families or whatever their life is like. They aren't able to prioritize, whether it's reading more about Scripture and the context of it, or whatever other thing that we're teaching on with Imaginarium. So I view it as, I'm going to take my time, I'm going to study these things, and I'm going to come teach at our gatherings and expose our people to things that they don't have time maybe to be exposed to. But then we always, every gathering, there's dialogue built in and there's conversation, because it's a huge piece that I think the church so often has failed at teaching people their belovedness and their true inherent worth. And although we use that language within our churches, often we don't give space for people to actually stand in their own worth or speak out of their own truth or their own experience. And us being really intentional about doing that, not just saying that you're worthy and good, but saying, and I want to hear from you. You have something to add here to this conversation always. Yep. So it was interesting because we're 8 or so months in. At first it took a little bit for people to want or think that it's actually oh, that's cute, she wants me to talk, or they want me to say, and then they're like, oh no, I want to say something. Oh, I have something to say. Oh, I have something to add this week. And so now it's becoming really lively. So that's a huge piece of what we do too. And we have music. Always.
Yeah. That has been the thing in the past year that has transformed our gatherings here, is I'll say some things, but then we ask other people how it lands for them or what they see.
I love it.
And there's so many weeks where I've said, there's just one specific woman who every time she says something, it's like, I wish I'd have talked to you before I did this.
Right.
I've literally said to her on more than one occasion, would you like to just come up and do this better than I'm doing it?
Yes.
And it really has changed. You'll have people who will say, I come here to hear from you.
Sure.
To which I respond, well, you will get to hear from me, but
Right.
the point isn't hearing from me. The point is hearing from us.
Well, and the point
Together.
is, if we're trying to better ourselves, it shouldn't matter whose mouth it comes from. If you're going to be challenged and inspired, let's make some room for that.
And it's just been, I don't know why, stunning to me. It shouldn't have been. I should have. But, you're kind of taught as a pastor, you're the expert in the room.
Oh, right.
So you're the one with the microphone.
Right.
As opposed to, really, people are busy and I'm preparing and I'm giving, but they intuit things, or they've read things, or they've heard things, or they've had an experience. And if you just give it space and you put all those ingredients together, it'll create something.
Right.
And I don't know that I could ever go back to doing church where
Right.
I
It's
was
just
the only
one
voice.
person. Yeah. So we pulled that over, and then outside of just gatherings, though, we do a lot of things that are simply for play, for the enjoyment of your life, and we think that is beautiful and honestly deeply spiritual, because we believe all of life is spiritual. So we have tons of, like, let's go dancing together, let's go out and eat at this restaurant, let's go do the Easter egg hunt, whatever that
Taekwondo.
is for play. There's not Taekwondo, Imaginarium. Taekwondo, I haven't done that. And then the other piece is the social action and social engagement. How are we literally bettering our city, our families, our workplaces, our world ultimately? And so we're looking and continuing to look for people that we can partner with, people that are already doing great work in our city. We don't feel like we need to reinvent the wheel. And for instance, we are partnering with Thistle Farms, which is this incredible organization in Nashville. And not only are we renting their space, but we're going to start coming alongside them and volunteering for them versus taking on and thinking we need to start our own outreach like them. Like so often, I think, at least it's been modeled for us in the church. No, you take it and you do it within the church. Like, make it become this subculture.
Territorial and competitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're supportive and collaborative. That's at the very heart of what we're trying to do. But all the while trying to carry out this vision, like, how can we better and change our world? So, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thanks.
So if people want to connect with Imaginarium, if people want to connect with you, where would they find you on the interwebs?
Okay. Imaginarium, which maybe when you post it, you can spell it, because some people, it's hard to spell.
No, I'll post links.
First. Fabulous. Imaginarium.life is our website. You can find out all about what's going on there. You can also scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for our email list. We send out weekly emails. Oh, this is sort of fun. We send out weekly emails. We have a 4-week cycle. 1 week is on mind. So it's, we're giving you, it's like 5 or 6 things of content, something to inspire, something for you to learn around some specific topic. So we give 5 or 6 things, and that's either us and our words, or us pointing to other podcasts or other teachings or art and whatnot. So about engaging your mind, engaging your body. That's the 2nd week of the month. How do we embody all of these truths? And so that's breathing exercises and healthy recipes, or amazing drinks, or here's where this next yoga class is that we can all go, or we want to go out dancing. Anything that's going to embody and deepen the human experience. Then we've got soul, which is understanding your own inherent worth. And so we send content about meditation or mindfulness practices, anything that would go along with that. And then finally, Community Week is where we're exposing you to opportunities for the community to get together. So sign up for our email list. On Facebook, we're Imaginarium. We are Imaginarium. That's the page on Facebook. There's also a community group that you could join. On Instagram, we're Imaginarium Community. And then I'm Melissa Greene in all those spaces, Greene with an E. I have a website that I'm redoing, so you could go there now, and it just has a holding page, but it's melissagreene.net. But that'll be up soon. I'm starting my own podcast.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I've got lots of fun things in the works. I also love officiating weddings. It's been the deepest joy of my heart to have been a part of so many friends and people in the community's wedding. And so now that I'm not in a church anymore, I still want people to know that I'm available for that. So that'll be about on the website.
And if people wanted to get married, if they want you to come speak at an event, sing,
Yeah.
Taekwondo.
I do
Any of
almost
those-
all of those things.
If they desperately want Taekwondo to the Champion by Carmen,
I could.
that's exactly what I'm going to be thinking about the rest of the day.
I love it. Yeah, I'm available for all those things. I'm also available for help with curating services or live events. That's one of my